Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are really excited about the topic that we are discussing. We are going to talk about wedding vendor retreats, what they are, and why they matter. So, thank you so much for joining us.
If you crave luxury but need guidance, then stay tuned for magic. Welcome to Wedding Tips and Tales with TS Wed, the podcast where we unveil the secrets to crafting the perfect luxury wedding. Join us for expert advice and insider tips that will make your special day unforgettable. Let's make your wedding dreams come true together.
My name is Taryn,
And I'm Dani.
and we are the dynamic duo that make up Taryn Stark Wyant Event Planning and Design. We facilitate destination weddings worldwide, and we love retreats, and we can't wait to dive into this with you. But first and foremost, Danielle, what are you drinking?
I'm trying to get my 10 glasses of water in. So, water.
I can't chastise you because I am also doing that, and we have the exact same Stanley Cup.
Ew. Ew. Puke.
Love it. All right, so luxury wedding vendor retreats, workshops, expos, what are these?
Yeah, so these are different educational activities, events, getaways, weekends that wedding vendors can attend. So there's a bunch all over the globe, really, and they can be hosted by photographers for photographers, wedding planners for wedding planners. They can be wedding planners for photographers, like the mix and match of how and who and where is kind of endless, right? Um, and these things can be anything from educational talks to like publication worthy editorials to just networking events where you meet other people in the profession, in the wedding industry, whether that's in your physical location and area, like in Raleigh area, or if it's at a certain caliber, like luxury wedding planners across the globe, or just destination wedding planners. Um, yeah, different things like that. Am I missing any others?
No, I think that's just right. And do people have to pay for these, or are they invited for free? Or what's the
Right.
situation about money
Yeah,
and
so
investment?
it's always an investment, right? There might be a few networking events that are not an investment. But for the most part, like the big ones that you might hear about, like Engage, those things are major investments for these professionals to go to these 3, 4 day workshopping, networking events. And something like that, something like Engage is going to be both educational and networking and experiential. And so you kind of get all of the above. We just actually hosted ours on Maui. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, we just had our second luxury wedding vendor retreat. The first one was in Ireland, the second one was on Maui. And the reason that we decided that we wanted to start doing this kind of an experience actually was birthed from a real wedding that we were hosting in Barcelona a few years back. And what happened was we had the wedding venue was at a private villa that could also double as an Airbnb. And it was like 20, 30 minutes outside of Barcelona. And we were like, wow, we don't want to drive in a foreign country and Ubering from a hotel in Barcelona all the way to this place for, they had two events on that property specifically. We were like, we don't want to do that. Like, that sounds like a lot. And so we asked the vendors, many of whom we'd never worked with on a wedding before, if they would want to go in on the Airbnb and just stay on site at the villa. And so we did. And it ended up accidentally being one of the most incredible experiences I think that we've ever had, Danny. Like, I think that was such a special experience to be able to live and work and partner and network with this particular group. It was just the bee's knees.
Right.
And we thought, okay, if we feel so fulfilled and encouraged and empowered just from having like a 4 night staycation during a wedding week with these people, what would it be like if we did this on purpose? What would it be like if we brought in some expert educators? If we were really intentional with where we went and why we went? What would that be like? And
Right.
so we started looking for something like that in the industry, and it didn't exist. And so that's why Danny and I decided to start hosting them.
Yeah.
And like Danny said, we just finished up one in Maui. And in full transparency, at the beginning of the retreat, we were like, we won't be doing this again. Like this, it was
It's
so,
so
it's,
much work. It's so much work.
it is so much work. It is a tremendous investment, not only financially, because all the money that comes in, at least for Danny and I, we pour it right into the retreat. So we don't
Right.
profit on this. In fact, we lose money on this. This is an investment for us.
Right.
And then take that and add in the amount of time and effort that goes into planning and executing something like this. It is completely exhausting.
Yeah, it's
And
like planning a wedding weekend where there's a welcome event, a rehearsal dinner, and a wedding for an intimate group of very like intentional, smart professionals in what you do. And like, so add in all of that while hosting,
Mhm.
while networking, while, like seeing if the florist would do something for free because this is a networking opportunity, while like all doing that for no pay.
Yeah,
Right?
for
Like,
no,
like,
but paying to do it, even
right, yeah,
worse.
yeah, yeah. Right.
And so we did it, and we had a fantastic group of people. We had 21 people at this one. We try to cap it at 20. One of the people was the venue rep, Kristen, who we absolutely love. And so we had our max. We were really happy with the number, and it turned out that we had the most incredible people ever at the retreat.
Yeah.
And they made every single experience so incredible and amazing. And by the fourth day, when we woke up before breakfast, I had an email waiting for me from one of our sweet new attendees. And
Right.
it was long and personal and emotional. And I turned over and looked at Danny like with tears streaming down my face. And I was like, well, I'm going to read this to you because apparently we have to keep doing this. Like, because it was
Right.
so amazing.
I think it might have been Sandra, who was our photographer, and partner for our last two retreats, who was sensational, and we love her. I think I told her, I'm like, I feel like these retreats are almost like childbirth. Like while they're happening, you're
Yeah.
like, this is terrible, and we're never doing this again. And then afterwards, like you have the baby and you like kind of forget, and you're like, that was great. Let's
That
do
was great. We should have another baby.
another.
No, that's a really
That's
good,
great. Yeah.
that's a really good analogy. That makes a lot of sense to me. Because pregnancy sucks, just like planning this sucks. But my
Right.
gosh, the outcome is so great. Like,
Oh, great.
it's so great. It's so great. Um, so yeah, so I think that these types of events are really important
Right.
in our industry. They're certainly now obviously very deeply important to us.
Right.
But tell me, Danny, tell me your opinion. Why does it matter if you're a newly engaged bride or groom? Why does it matter to you if you're considering a vendor who has attended or spoken at this kind of a retreat or a workshop?
Right. I love this because I think this is really important. And this is a side of like the industry. I think that newly engaged people are even married for 100 years. Like people don't see this from the other side. That first and foremost, networking between wedding professionals is going to like the cream rises to the top, right? And so like if you're a videographer as somebody who has been out and about and has been networking with people, not only are they picking up like tips and tidbits and advice about their work, right? Who they're using to edit and how they're shooting and what camera and all of that. Those are all things that you can gain in knowledge from other professionals when you're mixing and mingling with them. But they're also finding exceptional people to work with. So a lot of times people don't think about the fact that like you're the second shooter at events, right? The videographer's second person, your photographer's second person. These are people that they have found, whether they've brought them up and trained them themselves, or this is a videographer with their own company in their own right, but these two videographers are friends. And so this person helps this person and that person helps that person. You might be getting a really sensational backup second videographer for like the price that you're getting like two for the price of one, right? And so if you have somebody who's like networking and knows the industry and knows the people in the industry, they can kind of pull those levers and pull those strings, and you're going to get a little bit more bang for your buck as somebody who is hiring, let's say, a videographer. I'd also say specifically for florals, floral companies are stylists, they're designers, they're artists, right? But when they get hired by planners or directly from bride and grooms, they are having to produce the vision, the style that that person is asking them for, right? So like if you're a bride who loves pink peonies and you want white roses and pink peonies and that's all you want in the wedding, your florist is going to create pink and white wedding for you. But maybe that's not the florist's personal style. Maybe that's not like their calling when it comes to design. But if that's what they're producing for other people, that's what they're going to be showcasing. And then this new couple is going to see this pink and white wedding, might go, oh, you know what? I don't really like that style. And it's like the florist doesn't like that style either, but they're just producing what somebody asked them to. And so for, I think, florists specifically, things like this, where you can do editorials, where you can be creative, they can showcase what they love doing. They can showcase their work, their style, their design. So you get a clearer sense of who they are as designers rather than who they are as producers, right? Because those are two very different things, I think.
I agree completely. And I think too, as an engaged couple, like when you are considering vendors that have invested in themselves, in their continued education, in their networking and learning experience within this industry, like it's a little bit of a green flag, I would say. Like, oh, look, this person takes themselves seriously enough and values their business enough to invest in it. That's somebody who is a high quality professional right there. And so you know you're working with someone who is not just in it. Not that there are a lot of people in the industry like this. I don't really think that there are, but you can be assured that this person isn't just in it for the money. This isn't just a job. This is a passion. It's something that they are investing in because it's not just a financial investment. It's an investment of time and talent. It's time away from family. It's time probably out of state. It's an investment in their travel experiences.
It's
Like,
mental space. Networking is so
yeah.
exhausting. I hate it. Like,
Well, and for our attendees, I think too, it really matters because we, of course, are destination wedding planners, right? And so we are attracting people, industry partners that are interested in hosting destination events or serving in destination events. And so if you find a photographer who says, yes, I'm a luxury destination photographer, but that person hasn't traveled, like hasn't had the experience of traveling with his or her equipment, whether it's into Europe or over to Maui or whatever, like that is a level of experience that you want from your destination photographer.
oh,
Like,
yeah. I mean, the amount of lessons that we have learned, like, our first few destination weddings that we did, fake it till you make it a little bit, right? But that was like, we didn't know the things we know now because we
mhm,
didn't have that real experience. And by real, I don't necessarily mean it has to be a real wedding experience,
right.
but traveling for work, traveling with linens, realizing that, oh, this linen company doesn't ship to Europe. And so if you're going to get it, you need to get it a little bit earlier and you need to pack it in a bag. And so that costs this. Like all of these little minute things, or like what a VAT tax is, like all of these things are things that we learn through experience, and that can be done via real weddings or via workshops and editorials and things like that, that sometimes are easier to book if you don't have the experience, right? It's hard sometimes to book something you haven't done before, and yet that is what everyone who's wanting to get into destination wedding is wanting, right? They're wanting to book, they're wanting to go abroad, they're wanting to have this experience and to learn that. And so workshops, educational moments, it's a great way for them to get to do that, and a great way for the couple to feel confident that these people know what they're doing when it comes to destination.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think that uh we have a little tale about that. Like we for Danny and I when we we've always serviced destination weddings because by nature of being founded in Hawaii. So like Hawaii, it's all destination couples who are coming to do destination weddings. And so we were very familiar with the concept of destination weddings. But
Right.
when we decided to expand into Europe, we had booked a wedding. I think we'd already booked a wedding in
Yeah.
Europe.
Right.
Uh, and went, oh my gosh, like we've never traveled to Europe for work before, and it would be a huge disservice to this couple if our first work event in Europe
Right.
was their wedding. That
Right.
would be so disrespectful because
Yeah.
it would just be asking for trouble because of the reasons you just listed. And
Right.
thank God we decided, you know what? 4 months in advance, let's do like a little pre-Europe trip and do a couple of editorial shoots so that we can get our feet wet and know what to expect and how to best prepare for this real wedding in Europe. And
Thank
thank
God we did this.
God we did.
Can
Can
you
you
imagine if we
imagine?
hadn't?
No.
Oh,
And also, we love this couple and ended up doing her sister's wedding like 2 years later. And so it just would have been such an absolute disaster for us. We learned so much.
okay.
We learned, oh, everything went wrong. Everything that
What
could have
was
gone
your
wrong went
favorite
wrong.
lesson?
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Let's pick a favorite lesson. And we can't overlap. My favorite lesson that we learned was that we never put things in checked bags
Yeah,
that are
check bags.
necessary for the shoot or the event,
Right.
ever. Because
Right.
for the record, we lost our bags. We did not have our bags for 10 days. They were
It was
gone.
insane. Between two countries. They
Yep. 10
lost it
days, two countries.
from Toronto to France, they lost it. Our
Mhm.
last day in France, they found it.
Last
Like
night, they
the
delivered it
last
to our
night,
room
like
at
hours.
11 p.m.
Right. 11
And
p.m.
then
we
our
left it.
flight out was at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
We did not
Yeah.
even open the suitcase.
Not one bit. And then we landed in Italy and they lost it again.
Yeah. So we
So,
learned that
uh-huh.
because the fact of the matter is that we had a tremendous amount of collateral in our suitcase for those editorial shoots.
Correct.
We had so much in there for the editorial shoots, none of which got to be in the editorial shoots,
Right.
which made them not as good. I mean, they both were beautiful and both were published, so
And
like they
like
were great, but
we did learn some lessons, and there were some things like because it was an editorial shoot, we could ship some of that stuff to the photographers after the fact, so they could shoot it and still include it. And that's the comfort and the ability you have when it comes to an editorial is that it's not a real wedding. So like if the cake knife and server aren't there, that's okay. You just need it for the photos, and you can do that later. If this had been a real wedding and that was like grandma's cake knife and server that generations had cut cakes with, like
I would have
awful.
died. I would have
Died.
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 So
I
that
would
was
have,
my favorite lesson. That was my
yeah.
favorite lesson that I will forevermore take with me wherever I go.
Yep,
What
agreed.
was your favorite lesson?
I know I can't top it. That's it for sure. I mean, I'll say in a related like tale, even our florist for our workshop, who are sensational florists. They are well established in Rhode Island. They are wonderful at what they do. They did a wedding with us up in Portsmouth. I mean, they do 80 plus weddings a year, luxury level florist. Unbelievable, sensational, top tier. They had never done a wedding in Hawaii. And
Hmm.
they, like, when I was chatting with them, they were like, wow, flowers die so much quicker out in the sun here than we're used to. Like the amount of flowers that they lost because the heat and the humidity and the temperature is just different in Hawaii. Listen, they do outdoor summer weddings all day long on the East Coast. And obviously that can get very hot and those temperatures can get up and they are used to that, but it is different in Hawaii. The air is different there, the temperature is different there, the sun is different there. And like some of their like leaves were turning black and they were having to
Hmm.
throw out some of their things because they weren't used to that and they aren't used to that Hawaiian climate, right? And so again, luckily this was an editorial. So it didn't matter if we didn't use that ginger or this flower or
Hmm.
that flower because it wasn't a bride who said, like my favorite flower is X ranunculus and I need to have ranunculuses and then all the ranunculus died, right? It wasn't like that. So for an editorial, they understood and they got to play and they got to see, oh, okay, if we ever do a wedding out here again, now we know put these flowers in last or these flowers aren't going to last, so let's push the bride towards something else. And that just makes them more knowledgeable for the next
Hmm.
time that they have a wedding, whether it's in Hawaii or anywhere else. That kind of like real experience without risking a wedding
Right.
is really important. And I think like I know they took a lot from it. And us who are always like, right next to the florist and a lot of things, like, yeah, these things really matter. And if you're risking learning during a wedding, which listen, we all learn during every wedding, every real wedding, there's always something that as people that are passionate about our jobs and always something new happens, something with grandma or dad or we're always learning, but being able to learn in a space that has no like real consequences to someone's
Right.
big day, right, is really, I think, important.
Well, and I think that that's why it matters for engaged couples. So, like, if you are looking at different vendors and you see that this person has gone to and attended workshops or retreats or educational like sessions, that matters so much, like way more than you would think, because that means that the level of experience that they have garnered is higher than somebody who hasn't invested in that way. And so, as you're looking at people, if you're seeing people that are posting about the fact that they've been to a retreat or they've been to a workshop or they're going to engage or whatever it might be, know that that's not just like, oh my gosh, the wedding industry is so fun. They get to go to Maui. The wedding industry is great. We love our industry, but
Right,
that is actually work. And
right,
it's actually work that really,
right.
really produces lasting and um, meaningful results that will matter for your wedding too.
And I think too, I think it's a really good, and I know I said this earlier, but like it is a good signal to like brides and grooms, or brides or grooms and grooms, that like what that vendor is wanting to produce.
Mhm.
Right. So many times, like as wedding planners, so we're pretty type A at this point, and like, oh, TS wed wedding is a TS wed wedding, right? And so like it has a certain look, a certain level, all of that sort of thing. But especially for vendors that are starting out, like many times they're saying yes to everything and shooting everything, or producing flowers for everything. And when you see what they're attending, what workshops they're going to, who they follow, like who their I like idols are, not idols, but like who they're looking up to in the industry, you can see like what their personal style is, what
Mhm.
their design aesthetic is, and that can help guide you too, right? Like if you see, for instance, photography wise, KT Mary, amazing, gorgeous work, unbelievable. Not everybody can afford KT Mary, but if your photographer has done KT Mary's workshop,
Mhm.
you know that they have some sort of connection, some sort of bond. They enjoy Katie Mary's work or her personality or anything like that. Like that's a good sign. If you like Katie Mary and you wanted that style, but you can afford that, looking at somebody who studies her style, but that's within your price point, is a great
Right.
way to get what you're looking for without spending, six figures on a photographer.
Yep, I totally agree. Awesome, you guys. So I think that the moral of the story here is that workshops matter. Obviously, they matter for vendors. If you are a vendor that is watching this, keep your eyes peeled because, as we already said, we're gonna do it again.
Do it, and
For
we're
better or
so excited.
worse. We're doing it. But if you're a couple and you are like perusing people on the Instagram or looking at their websites and you see that they've attended these things, just make a mental note that that is good and matters and should maybe give them like a little bit of an elevation above a vendor that you might be considering alongside of them that hasn't been doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally right.
Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us. We love you. Follow along, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your questions below for future podcast topics. Subscribe, like, and let us know your favorite tip from this video. Until next time, let's keep making wedding dreams come true together. Bye for now.